Good on you. Good to see you, mate.
And you, mate, how are you?
Yeah, very, very good. Very good. It's the first time I've ever done a Zoom meeting ever. So I was like, wow, but no, I don't know what's going on. Yeah. I'm very happy when your face popped up there.
Oh,
Yeah.
and this is you can't say that about this face too often, I have to say. How
No,
are you?
no. Yeah, I'm grand. I'm really good. I'm really good.
And
Looking
where,
forward.
are you? Where are you?
I'm in Adelaide. Adelaide. So
Adelaide. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
First port of call for us.
That's right. Yeah, first one. I'm very excited. And I guess the whole of Australia is pretty excited because I think you've already sold out two and you moved to a bigger venue in Brisbane. And so,
Yeah. I don't. They've been. I mean, they've been brilliant. I think the last time we played there, they may have been a little bit underwhelmed by the turnout. I mean, it always looks jammed in the so they put us into a smaller place and then instantly regretted it. So, and I think they've sold. Yeah, I think they've. I mean, to be honest with you, it's what was it, 2019? I think it was. So,
2020, February
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, that's right. Yeah. Well remembered.
Well, yeah, look, it's sort of bittersweet, really, because I was lucky enough after to have a bit of a chat with JJ and then with Dave, and so it's sort of very. I look, it's going to be very emotional time, isn't it? Really, it must be for you guys every time you play now, really. And
yeah, it's something that we've had to get used to, and it's also something that if I'm perfectly honest with you, we weren't entirely sure whether or not we were going to continue at all after we lost Dave.
Yeah.
And it was only when we revisited the recordings that we'd made, which eventually became Dark Matters, that we really. I mean, the first thing was to at least finish the record as a tribute to him, and then people started asking us, "Are you going to play?" And it was I mean, it was almost like, well, how do you replace the irreplaceable?
Yeah.
But then we found a guy that is everything, and dare I say it, more. Players like Dave did 25 years ago.
This is
so
Toby.
we've been very. It's Toby Hounsham. Yeah. It seems like God must be a Stranglers fan because we were delivered this bloke who was a Dave disciple, a Stranglers fan, but a Dave disciple first and foremost, and absolutely nails every single brief. And it, the first rehearsals that I did with him, JJ lives in the south of France, so with the three of us live in England, and the first rehearsals that we did with Toby were very emotional for me. We had Dave's old keyboard rig, and there's another guy standing behind it who I'd never met before.
Yeah, wow.
And then all of a sudden he started playing the licks with the sounds, and I had to stop. I wasn't prepared for it. I rang JJ at the end of that day and said to him, if you've got any reservations about the ability of this guy, throw them away now because he's amazing. And so we took him out on the road in November of last year to do some gigs in France as a warm-up for the UK tour.
Yeah.
And it was astounding, and it still gets us to this day, if I'm perfectly honest with you, Colin. It really does. So, but yeah, onward and upward, I guess. I mean, Dave would be, what's that bastard doing playing all my licks, and then he'd go, he's really good. No, he's really good. So we think he would approve, and we got the seal of approval from his widow, which meant a lot to us.
Oh, really? Wow.
So and Toby as well. I saw her and Toby having a big palsy up at one of the gigs that we did in England. It was very emotional for her. I mean, very emotional.
Wow.
But yeah. I mean, you'll see for yourself. You know, you'll see for yourself, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I look forward to it. I heard, has he, have, I'm not quite sure on this story, something about one of Dave's old original keyboards
Oh
resurfacing.
yeah, you've heard
So,
about that.
yeah, is that true?
Oh
Wow.
well, as far as I'm aware, the story in a nutshell is that um, somewhere where the Stranglers used to rehearse back in the day,
Yeah.
um, some old warehouse somewhere. Um, they used to leave. They used to keep their gear there, and obviously, more often than not, especially those old analog keyboards that Dave used to use in the '70s, they would fuck up, you know, all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
So he would invariably just throw them away. Anyway, these people were clearing out this area, and they found one, and they got in touch with the guy that runs our website and said, "Look, we've got an old Stranglers keyboard. Do you want it?" And the guy was like, "Well, anything to do with the Stranglers, yeah, of course." Little did he realise that it is, in fact, actually the original Sembalette, which is the one that makes the No More Heroes sound, and all of those Peaches and all those amazing songs from the first few albums. Basically, it's got Stranglers stenciled on it. It's an old Horner Sembalette with cigarette burns on it. It looks like somebody's been hammering cricket stumps in with it. It's in such a mess. But when and there's an original picture of Dave using it in a black and white still of Dave using it in London in the 70s somewhere. And when I compared, because I love this kind of thing, I really do love this kind of thing. And when I compared the pictures, above the G of Stranglers, there's a big bash where somebody's dropped it and it's had a ding. And if you look at the one that Toby's got, it's the same one.
Same one. Wow.
Aye,
Wow.
it's the same one. It's just so he's gonna. I mean, JJ. When I told JJ the story and showed him all the photographs, he was speechless. You know. I
Yeah.
think Toby is gonna. He's found someone in the south of England where he lives who can restore it, and he's going to make a movie about it. And post
Okay.
it up online for the fans to see. So that story will come to light.
Oh,
But
nice one. That's so cool, isn't
it's
it? That's so
incredible.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
it
is
is, isn't it?
incredible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as a geek, as a geek, I love that. You know the, but to prove it, the provenance of it. I mean, there was a little light bulb went on above my head when I saw I compared the two pictures, and I said to my wife, "Jesus Christ, it's the same one." You know. So yeah,
Wow.
wonderful.
Wow. Wow. Hey, last time around, I think I really like the album, by the way. Yeah, you
No,
talked
thank
about
you, thank
finishing
you.
off the album and stuff. I think
Yeah.
I listened to it a lot when it came out, and I've been listening to it again, prior to having the chat today. It's actually a really good album, isn't it? It really stands up well. There's a lot of good stuff
Well,
on it.
thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
considering the circumstances under
Mm,
which it was made, I mean, I mean, I've got a studio here at home, just next door, actually, and so I recorded most of my parts and stuff here, and it was all done piecemeal. And it took an inordinate amount of time because when you're not in the same room, you have to make phone calls, and I don't like this bit. The keyboards need to turn up. Can you turn the guitar down in this bit? And it's very difficult to articulate what you're feeling when you're not
yeah.
sat next to the engineer. So it took a long time. And in actual fact, I listened to it in a car not too long ago. And when you're making a record, you don't listen to it very much after it's made because you're sick to death of hearing it.
Yeah, I can
You
imagine.
listen to it 100. Yeah. I still listen to Dark Matters. It's a really good record, even though I say so myself.
Yeah. I, I think you played this song live last time round. Will there be, and that went, I think it went down well, and it's great. I love the video and Stuart Pearce and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, he's a pal of ours, and
Yeah.
we asked him. He was flattered. He gave a whole day of his time. Um, he's no stranger to media, so he knew exactly what to expect. They really put him through his paces. And when I saw the final edit, I rang him up and we just laughed. And then he came to see us, and when we played it, there's a bit in the video. The first time you see him, he sort of drops down behind the wall, and when he stands up, straightens his tie, like, you know, as if to say, right. And as I went to the mic to start singing, I did that, you know. And apparently his missus told me he just about pissed himself with laughing, you know. So, yeah, he's a good egg, Stu. He's a really good pal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like stories. I read something about him when he was playing for Forest, and they're going on an away game, and he would get like a Sounds or an NME just to look at the gig guide, so he could find, you know, some punk gig to go and see whenever he was, you know.
Yeah. On
the road.
He does that. There's a big festival in the UK called Rebellion, which happens every August, big punk festival, and Stu goes for the whole 3 days. Plan with a handful of his pals. He plans out what he wants to see, and he goes to the thing. Stays in a scabby B&B on the seafront in Blackpool somewhere that costs about 25 quid, and like really gets into the vibe, you know. Yeah, he's great. He comes to see us all the time, so it's fantastic.
Yeah. So seeing you, when you see us in Australia, I always end up meeting somebody in the crowd that you know, people from Brisbane travel down, people that then they follow you around the country. You know, it must be great to have
they
lots
do.
of fans. You know?
Yeah, they do all the gigs, and we get that. I mean, we've just come back from a fairly long European tour. We did some gigs in Spain and France, and there's a load of Brits did all of them. You know, they take a month off. They take a month off work. You know, and then all the travel and the hotel expenses and all this type of thing, and then not to mention getting into the gigs. But it's a way of life for them, and I think they like to come to far-flung places as well. I mean, the last time we were in Australia, there was quite a few Brits came over because it's the other side of the world. It's a pilgrimage. Japan was the same, you know. There's 50 of them turn up in a bar in Japan. You walk in for a pint and you're greeted with faces that live in Epsom or somewhere. You know, it's the strangest phenomenon. Right. But we are forever and eternally grateful. You know.
Yeah, it was great, and they were really good people. They were really nice. I remember there was about 5 or 6 of them bang on the front fence, you know, right in front of the stage, and you had I think it was the Gooch Palms supported you.
Oh, yeah, great.
They recognised that the guy from the band, and they were chatting to each other because they'd seen every gig of the tour, you know, and they're like camaraderie with the support band. It was really cool. They're
wonderful. It's a real experience. The only real downside to it is that it's over so quickly because it's the other side of the planet. Everything has to align in terms of expenses and travel and shipping and freight and everything. And so you get there, you do the gigs, bang, 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 bang. I think we've got a day off in Adelaide actually after the initial three Kiwi gigs, and then we've got a day off in Adelaide, and then there might be a day off towards the end, but they're all back to back. I mean, I think we do 5 days. We do 5 gigs in about 8 days or something. So it's always whirlwind. Some of the earlier tours that we did there, we had a little bit more time to look around, you know, and to see things. I mean, I think in my time, I think this is probably my 5th or 6th visit to Australia, and it never gets tired. It never gets old. It's what a place. I love it. I love it.
Good on you. Yeah. Hey, what else was I going to ask you? So, will we get much off the new album? But you know, there's a lot of strong songs on it, and there's.
I think it's important. I think it's important to do that. You don't want too many. So probably in the UK, we maybe did, all told, for an entire evening, we maybe did 5 or 6, including a couple of encores. There's a very sparse acoustic thing on there about the lines on your face. And we do that sometimes with and if you should see Dave as encores. It's a bit of just me and JJ. It's a bit of a showstopper actually. I'm not entirely sure, Colin. When we get down there, there's a great song on the album called Last Men on the Moon, which requires a baritone guitar, and it's so expensive to bring a baritone guitar to Australia. So you think, okay, well, I'll rent one on the other side. It's just a fortune. So
Yeah.
that kind of renders that song not doable down there. But I would say sort of certainly 3 or 4 songs off the new record,
Yeah,
and I
good.
won't tell you what I
Good.
won't tell you what
No,
they are.
no, no, no. Don't. Gotta leave us some surprises. Gotta leave us some
Of course,
surprises. Yeah.
of course.
Must be hard though, because it's such a big back catalogue. So many great songs.
But
Something's got to be left off. I know, really.
yeah, and that's therein lies the rub. I mean, we spend an inordinate amount of time batting set lists across the ether to each other,
Yeah.
me and JJ, trying to work out what we're going to play. And inevitably, someone's going to be disappointed, even in the band. You know, oh, I want to do this one. I'd love to do that one. And it's like, well, you can't do them all. You know,
Yeah.
we'd be there. I mean, as it is, we play for about an hour and 3/4, which is quite a long time.
Yeah.
So there's plenty there for everyone. But as you say, that inevitably someone's going to be disappointed. That just can't be helped. You know.
No. No. Do you ever mix it up? Do you always play the same 18 songs, or do you have not swap in and out?
No,
No.
no, no. We have a pot that we'll start with of maybe 30 tunes, maybe a few more. And inevitably, after the first 3 or 4 gigs, we start messing stuff around, moving stuff around. And then if it works, in terms of pacing and timing and tempos and all that type of thing, that's very important. A lot of people just throw their songs in, but you've got to
Yeah.
put some thought into it, you know. So inevitably, if the set list works, then we'll tend to keep maybe, the lion's share of it and just do things as and when. There's so many songs that we could do, and as
Yeah.
you come out of a venue and there's somebody in the street goes, why didn't you do such and such? And it's like, oh, bloody hell,
Yeah.
I don't know, mate. I honestly don't know. We just haven't got time, so
Yeah. No,
it's a nice problem to have, though. It is a
isn't
nice
it?
problem to
Yeah,
have.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, you doing New Zealand first or New Zealand after?
We're doing it first.
Ah, cool.
Um,
You got a brother?
I've got a brother.
Yeah, I
My
was gonna
brother
say.
lives in Wellington. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to go down. An actual fact, I'm flying out on Monday. I get to Wellington on Wednesday. 2 days to get there, man.
2 days.
Yeah. I know.
Who you flying with?
Well, it's just
all
the
around the
time
world.
zones and
Right.
all that
Yeah,
shit.
no.
It's
Yeah.
so I'm flying to Dubai in the Middle East and then down to Melbourne and then out to Wellington. I'll arrive there on next Wednesday, and I'll stay with my brother until the following Tuesday morning, and then I'll fly down to Christchurch, do
Oh,
the
I love
first gig,
Christchurch.
then Wellington.
It's a
Yeah,
it's a
Christchurch, Wellington, and
town.
Auckland, and then we fly from Auckland to Adelaide.
Yeah, cool. Cool. Was your
Yeah.
brother all right in the cyclone?
Yeah, he just.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a hardy beast, my brother, and he's lived in New Zealand now for 6 or 7 years, I think. So he's kind of well used to it all. I mean, in actual fact, the last time we were down there, we played New Zealand at the end.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I remember that.
I went to stay with him, and I got home with about 10 days to spare before lockdown happened. And I was contemplating staying for a while longer. If I had done that, I would have been down there for
You'd have
8
been,
months.
yeah.
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 Unbelievable.
Then what happens to the album then? You're stuck down there. There's no mixing, there's no finishing the album, is there? Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So many things wouldn't have happened. So
Yeah, right. Wow. Cool. Hey, all right. You got somebody else lined up?
I have for 10:30. We've still got 10 minutes,
Oh,
so that's
right.
fine.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh,
No
that's
worries.
good. That's good. Don't wanna, I know you must have so many of these things, eh? You've got to.
Ah,
I'm quite conscious.
all right.
I don't want to ask you the same questions. So you must.
Hey, listen.
Say some shit.
We're both here. Let's embrace the technology that's enabling us to talk from the other side of the fucking world to each other. So you ask me what you like. Honestly, ask me whatever you want.
All right. What was your what was one gig that really stands out as being and one thing if there is one that went, fuck, everything went wrong. Because I remember the last
Oh,
couple of times, because you talked about having maybe hiring a guitar. I reckon I saw you at the Febby, I don't know, 2 or 3 tours ago, and the
yeah.
keyboards. I think David hired some keyboards, and they'd all fucked up.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and you had
Yeah,
to
yeah,
stop. And
yeah, yeah.
you were just telling jokes, well, and Dave's the techs are trying to fix the thing. And then I think last time at the Gov, something happened with the drum kit or something, and you know, there's all these jokes.
Uh, well,
Shit, Australian
I
gear we're gonna
mean,
hire, you know.
I mean, no, that's not just Aussie. It happens
Yeah,
everywhere. But I mean, basically, when you're traveling so far, obviously you can't take all of your equipment. So we take essentials, absolute essentials, like our first guitars. Me and JJ bring one guitar each, and then we rent spares at the other side. In the hope that you're not ever going to need to use them. They're just there in case you snap a string. So yeah, things like that happen. Standout gig for me, the one that always springs to mind was when we played Glastonbury in 2000 and either 10 or 11. We played on the Friday afternoon. I think it was about some bizarre time, like 1:40 or something. We went on, and there was 80,000 people turned out to see us. Now, the previous year, Lady Gaga had the same spot, and she got 35.
Wow.
And when they put I mean, apparently the word is that we actually played to more people than U2 did. And when they did the poll at the end of the festival, we were in the top 4 or 5 bands, I think, of the whole thing. It was a bright English summer's day. You could see Glastonbury Tor in the distance. And as when we walked out on stage, we had an hour, and there was just people. I mean, you know, we've done some colossal festivals, and you never cease to marvel at how many people come, and you look down and it's just a sea, you know. Glastonbury was something special. We came in not knowing what to expect. And when we walked out onto the stage, the place just exploded, and we had so there was flags and banners, and then we had to leave because I'll tell you, the best gig and the worst gig happened on consecutive nights. The first one was Glastonbury, and then we had to fly to Bratislava or somewhere to do a bike festival the next day, which 750 stoned, hairy, smelly hippies turned up in a windswept field somewhere in the Baltic states, and we had to get up at 4 a.m. We couldn't stay at Glastonbury and watch what we wanted to watch, and it was a huge disappointment. So I probably that year we did the best and worst gigs within 48 hours of each other.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
That's probably actually good, because how do you come down from playing 80,000 people? You know, it's going to be, so you might as well have
Well, I tell you,
you might as well have the
we
shit
came
gig the
down.
next one. Then can come
We
back up
came
again.
down mighty hard. We came down mighty fucking hard, I tell you, with a bump.
Oh, brilliant. Are you you say it's back-to-back gigs. Are you gonna have time to do any motorbike rides with JJ?
No,
Yeah.
not this time. Not this time.
No.
The time before last, me and JJ stayed on with the road manager, and we got some bikes from Perth, and we went down to Margaret River, and had a 3-day bike trip, never to be forgotten. I looked on the map. All of Australia was bright orange with heat, and where we were was blue with rain. A tiny little corner of Australia, blue with rain down in the southwest, and we got absolutely saturated, but we had a great time. This time, unfortunately, we're not going to Perth, and we need to fly in and get back. You know, it's unfortunate because you make these opportunities while you can, and we've got some really good friends in Perth who put us up, and we stay with them, and so that's going to be a little bit of a downer, but you got to do what you got to do. You know?
Yeah. I'm glad you always do Adelaide. A lot of times Adelaide gets missed, you know, and if you want to see So sound like the Damned are coming. The first time the Damned have come to Adelaide in
Yeah,
bloody years. So
yeah,
normally
yeah,
you got
yeah.
to go. You have to be like all these people I meet at Stranglers gigs. You have to get on a plane and fly somewhere, you know. So I'm
Yeah,
really,
well, I've been doing an outside project with the bass player out the
oh
Damned,
yeah,
Paul
I was going to
Gray.
ask you about that. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I'm glad you
yeah,
brought it up.
wingmen. Just something again that was born out of lockdown and boredom. And we did a little tour in January, and that was fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, we come to Adelaide for the pies, of course. I mean, you're famous for your pies, aren't you, Adelaide? You know,
Oh God.
meat, those big old gristly Aussie pies that you get, you know, that you can't walk or
Yeah,
shit
okay.
for a week after you've eaten one of them.
I'm going to bring a pie to the gig and chuck it at you on
And
stage.
toss it
Yeah,
at me.
there
Yeah,
you
go
go.
ahead. Go right ahead. I'll only throw it back. I tell you,
Yeah.
I will.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Hey, no, that's been cool. All right, thank you so much for your time. That's been brilliant. Really enjoyed
No,
chatting
it's a
to you.
pleasure. It's a pleasure. I hope you've got something that you need. And listen, if you do get to the gig and you can get backstage, do come and try and make yourself known, and we'll have a pint if we can. You know.
Yeah, all right, good on you. I'll take you.
All right.
It's actually, I tell you, it's my wife's birthday. So birthday present, we're going to the Stranglers. So that's yeah,
What's your wife called? What's your wife's name?
Julie, Julie
Julie.
Ann.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
easy. My first wife was called Julie. That's easy to remember. I will
Nice.
mention happy birthday, Julie. I bet you I do. I bet you I don't forget. I'm really good
Oh,
like that.
oh, good on you. Thanks so much. All
Oh,
right.
no
Nice one.
worries, mate. You take care
Thanks,
of
Baz.
yourself.
Yeah. See you
All the
next
best,
month.
Colin.
Take care.
Cheers,
Cheers.
mate. You will.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. How do we get out of this? I can never
Uh,
get out of them. Ah, there.